Okay, well, I would like to, the origins of this program. Actually, several weeks ago, Lily Fig, who is one of our exhibitors today, sent some photos of what she'd been doing while staying at home. And it occurred to me, well, how to share these with others when we can't get together, and what have other people been doing while they're staying at home? So, work and ideas and creations came together from many quarters to produce the program we'll see today. If you like it, we'll do it again. And hopefully, others will come forward to show the talent and creations they've been hiding under a bushel. And if we're lucky, we might persuade Sylvia Dawson to curate another event. She has the skill, the experience, the aesthetic eye to bring together such a program for us. She has worked individually with each exhibitor on how to select and present their photos to best effect, and then she brought the whole thing together into the show we will enjoy. And we've been persuaded her to include a few photos of her own works at the very end. So I turn things over to Sylvia. Sylvia?
Here. She's just getting set up to share screen.
Oh, okay.
Unmute. Okay. Like I tell everybody, we're new to this. And okay, we should be ready to go. This is our first sheltered in place creativity show. That's me just showing up. Our first crafter is Lily, who has done amazing artwork using paper and a few found objects. I think you will enjoy what she has to show us. Lily?
Hi.
Hi, Lily. You tell us about your work. Can you see it?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
that's the paper flower I did. And this is a peacock. And those little trees I made of dry grapevine. You know, we all eat grapes. So after you take out the grape, then there's vine, and you let it dry for several days, and then you can make it into the small trees. It is not big. It is about this size. And the pot, you know, are made of roll, the toilet t-shirt roll. So it's kind of to if you call this, I think it's more appropriate to say they're recycling recycling crap. And especially nowadays, you know, the global warming, so we have to, we should, I should use the materials which is reusable. So try not to consume too much material, and that can avoid piling up the garbage. And this is the toilet paper roll too. Actually, I made it for my sister for Christmas. And I told her that she has to wait until next year, so we cannot see each other. And those two I have several. This is made of paper, construction paper. And I learned from my teacher just for 2 months. And then she quit. So I made youtube.com of my teacher. So I learn everything from YouTube. So those two I learned from my teacher. And so this one. And this ones you have to make small, tiny little paper things and then connect to each other. And this is my first work. So it's not too neat. So, but it's for fun especially for right now, I should find something to do. This is,
Oh, thank you for sharing this with us, Lily.
oh, you're welcome.
Oh, we have one more. This is her happy ending. Yeah.
Yeah, those are my flowers. I try to adapt to the frame. I got the frame first, and then I said, how do I use the frame? So I do this and try to use it, and turn out I like it. I myself I like it, so I call it happy ending at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next.
Sylvia, I sent a chat, it's Janet, I sent a chat to have the artists speak up a little louder because
Oh.
it's hard to hear.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think everybody can hear what you said, probably. Let's see. Our next crafter, well, there's three, and they are making sensory tactile mats. It sounds like a wonderful project. So now we will hear about their project.
So I'm Linda Landrum. I'm representing the three of us, and these are examples of the mats we make for people who are living with dementia and Alzheimer's. And they're to stimulate senses and to aid in maintaining motor skills. So we add a wide variety of textures and objects to manipulate. Next, sorry. So here we have some poly pellets in a bag that gives a really wonderful sensation under the fingers, and there's a zipper bag at the top. The flower is put together with a magnet, and there are clips along the side. Next. And this is Jenny's great inside out bag where everything is within and you just flip it out to reveal the various activities. And as you can imagine, this would be a great travel bag to have along. I myself and do more in the format of a quilt because that's what I'm familiar with. So the top right is one that I did with the shoelaces and some elastic to play with. And to the left is Kathy's smaller mat, and she makes a lot of these in various sizes where she puts interesting textures side by side to give a great sensation. She's got satin next to a rougher cotton, and then zippers and buttons and snaps. And it's a very happy mat, happy colors. And then we have Jenny's inside out bag where she's demonstrating some Velcro, which is one of the things we put along with zippers. And you see we use familiar objects, which we hope will bring back a fond memory. And to the right is Kathy's use of fleece to create a maze. And she just sewed channels into the fleece to push along marbles. And so this is one I created, and I have dotted minky on the backside, which is a nice texture. I used a shoestring for the stem of the flower and the leaves, and these button there are buttons here, there's Velcro, there's a belt, snaps, and some little beads to play with.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you, Linda. We're putting the contacts on the back side. And if anybody fancies asking Linda more about her project and how to help maybe, you can see her contact there. And now our next crafter will be Kristen Woods, and she makes quilts. Welcome, Kristen. Where is she? She gone?
She's here. She was still muted.
Oh, okay.
There we are.
Thank you, Sylvia. I was just saying how I'm glad I was in.
1 minute, I can't hear you.
And other people. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's better. Yes.
Okay, I think I've got it as high as it'll go. Anyway, again, thank you for having me. And it's, so far, the ones that we've seen are just so creative. It's just amazing. And I'm really happy to be part of this group. This is my Halloween decor, and this was actually has been made during the pandemic. It's machine embroidery, and my sewing machine, actually, you put the things in, you push the button, you lay down the fabric when it tells you to lay it down, you push another button, and this is what one of the types of things that you can create doing that. This is from a designer called Kimberbell. It's, you know, I really enjoy doing this, I guess maybe because I like how it turns out, and it's really very easy. Sylvia, next slide, please. Okay, this quilt I made for my husband, and it's very large. It's 98 by 108, I think. And almost all of the fabrics inside of the rectangles are by a designer named Kay Fassett, who is from England. Well, he lives in England now. He's originally from Southern California. And his fabrics are always very bright and lots of flowers. And his collections, which fabric collections come out every year, sort of like new cars, but his tend to always, you can always use them all together. He doesn't do them in shades such that last year's won't go with this year. So I enjoy working with his things. And I saw this originally in a magazine, but it wasn't large enough. So I redesigned it to make it the size I wanted. And it has a wool batting, which is somewhat unusual nowadays in a quilt, but wool breathes and it's light. So this can be used in both the winter and the summer unless it gets really too warm. But we've really enjoyed using it for the last year. Next, Sylvia. Okay, this is Zara's quilt. It was made for a friend, Janet Marcus, for her little granddaughter who lives in Montreal. And I saw it on a television show and I decided to do it. And it turns out that it is one of the easiest quilts I have ever made. You just need 2 squares. You draw a line down the middle, stitch along each side of the line, cut down the middle, and then press each one of them out. And you have a block that has sort of an, if you use the right fabrics, sort of has an optical illusion to it. So I enjoyed making it. Zara, I guess, really likes it, and her mother does too. And so it was nice to find something that I think has some real depth to it, and yet it's so easy to make. I think that's all, Sylvia.
More.
No, I think that was my last one.
Yes.
Oh, dolphins and turtles made it. Okay. This one sort of got to Sylvia late, so I wasn't sure if it would make it or not. This is done in the Hawaiian style of quilting. The Hawaiians, when the Europeans got there, didn't like the idea of taking perfectly good fabric and cutting it up into little squares and triangles and stitching it back together. So they started doing large designs. And the original ones were from like plants and animals, mostly plants native to the Hawaiian area. And this one was done by a quilter who now lives in Oregon, this design. And it's appliqued, all of the fabric is appliqued with the edges turned under and then stitched down to one piece of fabric, which was about 40 by 40. And the dolphins were all done using a machine sewing technique. So I didn't have to sit and stitch all of those, but the little turtles had to all be done by hand. And then I hand quilted it, which generally I send my quilts, like the large CAFE one, I generally send them out to a friend and she does the quilting for me, also on a large machine. So, and I think, and this one was for a friend's daughter, it was originally supposed to be a wedding gift because the daughter loves dolphins. So she eventually did get it and it's hanging in her home now. So, okay. Thank you, Sylvia. That was my last.
Thank you so much for, that's also interesting. I've never done any quilting and it's quite a mystery to me. Thank you so much, Kristen.
Thank you.
And now we have Linda Swift. Linda, it doesn't look like it, but Linda takes amazing photographs. So I think we're going to enjoy her photographs now. Oops, wrong way. Okay. Is Linda here?
Can you hear me?
Yes, there
Okay.
you are.
Great. Okay. The reason these are called painted with light is that it's a technique where the camera is on a tripod and the room is completely dark. I go up to the item with a small flashlight and paint light onto the item, just the parts that I want to show, or certainly the whole meat grinder. That's a meat grinder. Anyway, okay, Sylvia, next one, please. This is the waffle iron that my parents received as a wedding present in 1940. And even though it's probably illegal to use any implement that has a cord that's covered in cloth, we do use it every so often and it still works. Okay, thank you. A grocery scale from Joan Turk, who I think was involved in the village years ago. She has passed away, and so it's especially nice to have this. Her father ran a grocery store in Milwaukee, and this is an item that she had. Thank you, Sylvia. I just have fun putting these images together. I don't know, but maybe the women in the crowd can recognize that what I call riff on Vitruvian Man on the right includes a speculum, kind of photoshopped a bit with a few extra arms, and the stirrup from the gynecologist's office table. So, okay, we can go on from there. My mother-in-law loved this telephone and always was sad that telephones would just yank off the table or the desk, whereas this one weighed a ton and wouldn't do that. Anyway.
Now we have a new section.
A new section. So some of you might know that I do, for 14 years, I've been doing a project in Hyde Park called the High School Photo Project. And I go to U High and to Kenwood and often to King if they're not having a change of administration, which makes getting into the school difficult. So I'm going to be quiet while Sylvia slowly scrolls through these pictures so that you have the opportunity to read the quotations. Each student brings a quotation they feel says something about their identity.
Sylvia or Linda, it's Barbara, hi. It would help if you read what they wrote. We
Yeah,
can't-
if somebody could read it, because they're going so quickly, we can't always get it read.
Oh,
So could-
I was reading it and then go on. This one says, everyone is a genius, but if you judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree, it will go its entire life thinking it is stupid. Albert Einstein.
Okay, I'll read this one. It says, music expresses that which cannot be said and on which it is impossible to be silent. Victor Hugo. None but
Okay.
ourselves can free our minds, by Bob Marley. And it says ACLU on her sweatshirt, in case you can't see that. Don't dwell on what went wrong. Instead, focus on what to do next. Spend your energies on moving forward toward finding the answer. Dennis Waitley. Probably good advice for the current condition we're in. When the power of love overcomes the love of power, the world will know peace. Jimi Hendrix. This one was one of the ones that was featured in a show at the University of Michigan Medical Center just last December through March. And then they got quarantined in their storeroom for 2 more months when no one was allowed to even go to the loading dock. Okay. Life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning to dance in the rain. Vivian Green. And I love having students who come prepared with props that actually go with their quote. And this is a great example of someone who thought about it ahead of time. Okay. Okay, yeah.
In another section.
Okay, this is what I did at the beginning of the pandemic. I call this series Flowers at Midnight, because I would do them right before I went to bed at midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning, with nothing but the ambient light of the city coming in. I shouldn't say that, because there are 2 very small and light sort of spotlights or track lights above that help. Okay.
Okay.
While you're looking at flowers, I would like to say that my email will be included at the end, and I do a calendar of high school photo project images each year. If you're at all interested in buying a calendar, send me an email. My email will be at the end.
Yeah. I think that's the last one.
I think so too. Thank you for inviting me to participate.
Oh, thank you so much for giving us this wonderful show. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And now we have a very interesting, unique collection of pottery from Terry. Where is he? Terry.
Terry, you're muted. Terry, you're muted.
There, is that better?
Yeah.
Ah, good. Now we can see you and hear you.
I grew up in Fresno, California, San Joaquin Valley. And once I found out about this Earth Art Studio in the 70s, every time I visited Fresno, I would stop by and see and shop. So I have a collection, and many times items have been given as gifts. And at some point in time, some of them have been come back to lodge on the shelves, which you're going to be seeing. This was started by Margaret Hudson, and she was an iconic San Joaquin Valley sculptor. She began in the 70s, and she was an early woman entrepreneur. She has many sculptures all around Fresno. This is one outside St. Agnes Medical Center, which is where I had my first job as a pharmacy technician. and it's St. Luke the Healer. She also has some big bears at the Valley Children's Hospital, as well as some other animals at the Fresno Zoo as sculptures. Next. Oh, she died in February of this year at age 93. Her children and other sculptors are continuing the work. So this is one shelf of the animals. I love the bears and the squirrels, and you can see them together and then highlighted. They all have unique expressions on their faces. So I started a, what do you call it, a manger collection. And actually right now they're separated, but every once in a while, if the spirit moves, I'll put them together with some greenery over the Christmas holidays. But there's Mary and the baby and Joseph and 2 angels, 3 angels.
Lovely.
Oh, Scotty. He was given to me by a classmate of mine from Fresno State College, as well as UCLA. We were classmates for my 70th birthday. We've known each other and stayed in contact and in touch for all these 53 years. This is the bulldog at Fresno State. The what do you call it? The mascot is a bulldog. So I had to have a bulldog.
Oops.
Back in the day, my first job was an ER nurse at Santa Monica Hospital while I was going to graduate school at UCLA. And several of us started a new chapter of the new Emergency Department Nurses Association, and their mascot was a roadrunner. Nurses are always on the move. So I had to have me a roadrunner when I found it. These are lions. Barbara's sister was a lion collector, and once she died, they came back to roost. My dad's name was Alec. Many of his friends called him by nickname, the Wise Owl. So I started him a collection of owls. And again, once he died, they came back to lodge here. There's more animals, all kinds. One of my friends, this friend that I've known for 53 years, she collects penguins. So I've given her 2 or 3 different size penguins that Margaret Hudson has made.
Okay, I have a feeling that's the last one. Terry, that's an exciting collection. I like the way they come home to roost.
Yes. I hope one day there's a rooster.
Now we have Ruth has been learning painting while she's been at home, I hear. So Ruth, are you there to tell us about your paintings?
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. This is called Our Beloved Point. I'm going to read so I don't go over the 5 minutes. So, can you imagine what our shoreline would look like without it? Prior to 1900, it was just a vision by Daniel Burnham. Completed in 1937, it has become the heart and soul of our community, a gathering place for all ages from morning to evening, in good weather and popular in winter too, for skiing, snowshoeing, and walking. What I love most about our point are the rocks. So unique, so interesting, with a tremendous variety of shapes, textures, and sizes. Not boring, not sterile. Hyde Parkers have fought hard to preserve them from being replaced with concrete. My favorite activity there is swimming, and I know for many of you as well. Recently, our grown son, Arthur, told me that he and his high school friends would wiggle through tunnels under those very rocks. But for me, I only knew that this was heaven. Where in any other major city could one swim in open, fresh water with no boundaries? Next slide. When the pandemic struck and the lakefront beaches and parks were closed, we started searching for other places to be outdoors. Our very dear friend, Franny Ness, who just passed away in September, had told us about Bobolink Meadow, tucked away behind the Museum of Science and Industry. So here we are standing in the bower of a huge weeping willow tree on the northern bank of this large, beautiful lagoon. I love its massiveness and thick, dark bark, along with the graceful hanging willows swinging in the breezes. 2 weeks after this photo was taken, a major storm ripped away most of the willows, leaving only the bare branches and swept clean earth. Next slide. My husband and I, we started going every day. And as spring came, we were delighted as blankets of new wildflowers of infinite variety appeared magically. Every day seemed to have more. This painting is one such luscious blanket of white and yellow daisies seen from the southern shore of the lagoon. Often from this spot in late afternoon, we watched the flock of Canadian geese promenading slowly and majestically around the island visible in the background. With new eyes, we saw so many other birds too. Great blue heron, egrets, wood ducks, purple martins, red-winged blackbirds, and even a beaver. Some of you can name many more, I know. We watched fishermen haul in wide-mouthed bass, a lot smaller than those my nephew catches in Alabama, but still impressive. Next slide. Here is one of the many sunsets we caught on our daily walks. What struck me here was the sky with its unusual patterns created by the wind. It is still early spring with the stark designs of tree branches and grasses. In 1982, this meadow was set aside as a nature sanctuary and named after the bobolink, a bird native to Illinois, seeded with native grasses and wildflowers. Today, it is cared for by many volunteers in our community. I am so grateful to all who had the vision and stamina to create our point and bobolink meadow, and the volunteers who care for it to this day. For me, it has been a newly discovered treasure during this pandemic. Thank you.
Oh, why, thank you. That was lovely. This is a place that I know many of us just love to walk. So it was just beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anne has, we call this handicrafts because Anne has lots of talents. Anne, are you?
I just unmuted.
Good.
Yeah, mine falls far more in handcraft than it does in true art. I like to keep my hands busy, and I have found during this time these little things are nice because it gives you see the little heads and the angles. You can do the next slide.
And could you speak up a little bit? We can't hear so good.
Well, I want me to say it again.
Oh,
I'll get
you'd like to say it again?
closer.
Yeah,
Is that
I
better?
didn't hear it, but then I can't hear very well.
Can you hear me?
That's better. A little louder.
Can others hear? Well, I'm pretty close and I'm speaking pretty loud.
Okay.
That sounds
So-
good now, and I think that the video or there was just a little delay maybe with your audio.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah,
these
I
are
can hear.
things I like to, because they're able to complete. The little snowman heads and the angels do pretty fast, and it gives me a sense of accomplishment. I also have done, which aren't shown here, pumpkins and ghosts and spiders, which are hanging in my front room. So it's fun to do just little tiny things. Okay, the next. We have a second door. Many old houses, you have your front door and then you have an inner door. And I do hangings that I hang on the glass window there. I try to change them for the different seasons. And you see these are Halloween. It's kind of fun to put them up. The one that says boo is actually was an unfinished project that I found and finished during this time. It's a Sudoku mat, and I added the ghosts and it's on the table. Next slide. Can you put the next one?
What was that?
Did you put the next one? Yes.
Yes.
This is hangings.
Yes. It seems like there's a little delay between when I move it and when you
This one
see
is
it.
for Christmas. I see that. That's okay. The
Okay.
angels are for Christmas. The snowmen are winter. The bird is just an anytime. And the angels are actually true quilted. The second one has some quilting and some iron on. And the bird is embroidered as well as quilted. So I work in all sorts of different things. I want to show the next one. Good.
Quite a delay.
Yeah, there seems to be a delay, doesn't it?
The next, yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
You haven't seen it yet? I can see it. It's beautiful.
There,
More
it just showed up.
Yeah.
The rabbit is Easter. The one that's a diamond shape, if you look in the center of it, it sort of represents fireworks, and it's a summer, the flowers on the corner, and the star is autumn because it's fall colors. And I have them more that aren't here that I'd hang up and for all the different seasons. It's just kind of fun to have different things. I have butterflies. Some of them have things on the back because it is glass and you can see through it. They're very quick, fun to do. I think that's the last
I
one,
think
right?
so, yes. Thank you. It's
Okay.
all your many talents. Oh, yes. This is me.
Yeah,
So I gather I have some time.
yeah.
I learned to crochet It was one of two projects I took up because I was feeling very stressed a number of years ago. And I just needed something to calm me, make me sit down and not keep walking around all over the place. So I took up knitting and I took up drawing. The drawing was somewhat successful, but I didn't keep going with it. But the knitting expanded, and a neighbor taught me how to crochet. So now I can do both. And this is my collection of some crochet. It's Cuddly Puppy and all these little things are cat toys, which have gone to family and friends with cats. Here's my big one of my Cuddly Puppy, who I gave to a neighbor who was feeling very sad. And she sort of had a dog that looked something like that. So I gave it to her. And the puppet, he was fun to make. And that went to a little girl next door. My knitting, these are called squish blankets, and they're soft and squishy, very easy to make. They use up all the yarn that you have spare. You just keep finished one color and you don't have any more, you just start another color and you work with two colors at once. And it seems to work out somehow. The top one was the first one I made for my grandson, Eric, and that's Eric's hand along with his cat. I also made one for my son and my daughter-in-law. I think the bottom one is my son's, and my daughter-in-law had a blue one, and my older grandson has one too. The top left is, I needed something to do, and I just like the look of this one. It's quite a small blanket. And the teddy bear in there was made by my mother. I think she sent it for my sons. They weren't interested, so I still have it, and he's still almost like new. The little picture at the bottom shows my younger son. He likes cats, and he said maybe I would like a blanket. So I wanted to do something different, and this blanket is crocheted from corner to the opposite corner, a little different than usual. And the little picture shows pretty much the whole thing. And the other one is on my son's couch along with his cat. We're a very cat family, I think. And these are my crocheted scarves. These I've kept, these I wear. So they're sort of fun to wear. The one on the top left is a really funny shape, and I sort of find it a little hard to keep it in place, but it's just beautiful colors. So that's my crochet. Thank you. And this is our list of all the people who've given us our show today. And at the bottom right there is my husband. I would make slideshows for him for his work. And so he made this little logo for me. And he said, you really should put that in. So that's my little logo to say that I did the work. But most of the work is from all these people who have done this wonderful artwork for us. Thank you. And here are the contacts. So if you want to know more about them, do write them down. And maybe Michelle would send us them when she sends out a notice. And that little ghost up there is one of Anne Audrain's ghosts.
Yes, when I will send out a recording of the program, and I'll include the contact for everyone with that email.
Okay, and I'll just leave this, shall I?
Leave it for a few minutes, sure. Yeah, thank you so much,
No,
Linda, for putting those together.
we were going to leave this if, in case people had questions from.
So there's no real questions in the chat, but a lot of positive comments about the different pieces of art that people were seeing. So I guess we can just open it up for questions. I would like to start out. I was curious, Linda Swift, about your, was it painting with light? Is that what you called it? Did I get that correct? I've never heard of anything like that. How did you create that, or did you learn about that from somebody else? And Linda might be muted.
Yeah. I'm going to turn off the screen share so we can
Yeah, I think that's a good
talk
idea.
to Linda while she gets muted.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oops, so good to find it.
Okay, I think I'm off mute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so painting with light is a photography technique that I learned about in a lighting class that I took when I got what I call my retirement degree, which is I went to the School of the Art Institute and I graduated in 2011. And so that's where I learned about it. If you Google painting with light, you'll see other things where sometimes people do it with a big flashlight, someplace where it's really dark. It's impossible in Chicago because we have so much ambient light, but there used to be a Pepsi commercial where they painted the word Pepsi with blue neon tubes with somebody just standing there doing it with their hand in the dark.
I have to say that that technique on the everyday objects that you showed, not to be too punny, but to show them in a totally different light. I mean, they looked totally different and gave them an ethereal appearance. You know, it was just an amazing technique.
Thank you. If I used an LED light that was red or blue or something like that, it would obviously take on an entirely different appearance also. Using an old-fashioned little tiny flashlight with an incandescent bulb gives them the golden tone. And for the vintage items, I think it's especially effective.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you.
Terry, Terry, if you're talking, you're on mute.
I have a question of the tactilers. Have you gotten feedback from individuals who have received those items and how that works for them, or any kind of feedback? It's quite interesting. And it would seem like constructing or deconstructing adds to a challenge and keeps them focused.
That's Kathy is.
Linda, Kathy.
Yeah, somebody has to unmute.
We haven't received feedback yet, although we're asking for it. We've only distributed a handful of our fidget mats, a couple to Dorothy Pytel, who's part of your organization, I believe, Hyde Park Village. And then Susan Quantance, is that right, Kathy?
Susan Quaintance.
Susan Quaintance, and we're asking them for feedback, but it's coming slowly, but I'm sure we'll get it.
Creative, very clever, yeah. And if you can just sort of raise your hand if you have questions, and we'll.
Okay.
Susan Alito, I see your hand up.
I have more questions about the sensor mats. Do you take orders for them, and do people tell you sort of specific things that they would like included, or I gather this project is just beginning and evolving, but are you teaching other people how to do it? I just think it's such a terrific idea, and I'd love to know more about it and what the possibilities for outreach are.
Well, I think that's part of the reason we're here. We're just starting, and we've been making things for various organizations over the years, and someone in our group of about 20 thought this was a good idea, and the three of us right now are the only ones making them, but we share them with whoever needs them. I think that's our goal, is that you can buy these things on Etsy, upwards from $45. But if we can get them into the hands of someone where that cost might be difficult, that's what we want to do. And we're happy to share any of our ideas and our thoughts. And we put together a little sheet of web pages that we use, of websites that were helpful. So please let us know if we can help anyone or any individual who'd like to make one.
There's a question for Anne Audrain. And the question is, do you work from patterns or freeform?
Usually patterns, but sometimes I adapt them. Rarely do they look exactly like the pattern. I usually make changes.
They're so whimsical, Anne. They're just lovely.
I think that's called creativity.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I was just about to ask Lily about her construction paper creations, but I think she's just
Yeah,
leaving.
I think she's leaving. Yeah.
Yes.
It's just amazing what she's doing. I mean, she started showing me these things that she's doing out of paper, and it's just amazing, I think, and the detail.
Well, I'm just blown over by all the creativity we've seen today. It's just amazing what people do when they with expressing their creativity. It's just been wonderful to see everything everybody's doing. We have some very creative people. I mean, even taking an idea that they've learned from someone else, but really adding their own touch to it has just been fascinating. And we definitely need to do this again.
So, yes, that's my question. Next to question: are people inspired? Who else wants to show us what they've been doing while staying at home?
Someone had a question.
I think Kathy Williams had a question for Linda.
I was just making a suggestion to Linda and Kathy. There was recently this craze of fidget things that teenagers were buying and holding in their hands, and even adults were using them. I think you could have a great market in these for all of us. We could all use these while we're I think they'd be wonderful. And hi, Linda, it's great to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Well,
especially during this time of coronavirus
and Sylvia Dawson's squishy blankets are another tactile a piece of artwork that would probably be soothing during this time.
I want one before November 3rd.
The thing that came up for me when I worked with Sylvia is thinking about the stories for each little collection. It's like, oh my goodness. And then the stories each of you had related to your craft and projects and items. It's like, that puts a lot of meaning behind them.
Yeah. So no other questions, Michelle? I think we're ready to wrap up, or Terry, or.
Yeah, I did. Laura, did you have a question? Laura Cracky?
I was just going to comment about the sensory things, that they could also be for small children.
Yes. Yeah.
Children with attention deficit, or that have trouble sitting still, might be helpful for them too. All ages, really.
Yeah.
They've also been used for people who are on the autism spectrum.
Yeah.
It's the kind of thing that they put together for activity. You get activity walls. I've seen some of them when I was a librarian. And we had them, they had them at some of the libraries we visited, and they're bigger, but it's the same idea. Something that the child can manipulate and jam around and change and do something different with.
One precaution, and I'm saying this from buying toys for my little dog, that if there's buttons or something she can chew off, they go in her mouth. So you would want to make sure that they couldn't chew something off and swallow it and then have to go to the ER or something.
Right. Good point.
Michelle, before we end, I just wanted to express appreciation to Ruth, who had not only her paintings, which are certainly beyond me, but also the narrative. So she painted a picture by hand and also with her words, and I appreciated that.
Yes, thank you very much, Ruth. And Ruth also has some cards of her work that are available if you're interested. And so if you're interested in cards of her paintings, someone could send you an email, Ruth, to inquire about that. Yeah. She had, Ruth has a show of her paintings right now at St. Paul and the Redeemer Church. And I believe the cards support the food pantry at St. Paul and the Redeemer. So let me know if you want more information on that, and I'll reach out to Ruth, or you can email Ruth directly.
And Ruth, did you say you just took up painting recently?
Well, since I retired, I've said we came to Hyde Park in 1968 for 2 or 3 years, and we're still here, like some other people. So after I retired, it was getting restless.
Wow.
I had a friend who was a wonderful painter, and I hadn't painted since 5th grade, you know. So music has been more my thing. So because I wanted to do it so much, I struggled. I started, but it just has been a way of prolonging the joy of being in nature, which nourishes my soul so much, and to discover new places right in Hyde Park during this pandemic has been such a gift. Yeah, I knew about Bobble Lake Meadow. We'd been there once or twice, but normally we go to the lake or the dunes. So this was such a gift. And I have to say, I struggled, what do you do with this brush and so on and so forth. But I couldn't not do it because I wanted to so badly. So it's been a gift for me, probably for my mental health also. But, and I was going to say, the cards I have had note cards printed of these 4 plus 1 at the dunes. And I'd be willing to use it as a gift for the village. If anybody from the village bought them, we could use it to support the village if you like.
Very generous.
Different causes. So
I'm sorry, I forget who took the pictures in the schools, but the kids with their sayings were just phenomenal.
Linda.
Who did that?
Linda.
Yeah, they were.
Thank you.
And I loved the last one with the gal with the props. I mean, she just really came dressed for it. So that's a great way for them to express their creativity.
And along with that, somebody's asked, the calendars that you put together with those pictures, do they benefit a cause?
No, the kids each get, I don't get paid anything for doing the project for these 14 years, and the kids all get pictures of themselves. So you could say they benefit supporting that. But otherwise right now, no, my cause is the Kenwood Food Project, but I'm not on today to talk about that. So you have to have Good Cause Day another time, and we'll all appear for our good causes.
That might be a good idea for a program.
I think we have many themes that have come up today, including retirement projects, because Linda, you went to the School of the Art Institute sort of as your 3rd or 4th career.
Right. I did, yes. It was great fun. You have to be careful. I was an undergraduate, so I was in class with the 19-year-olds, and they don't mind you being there at all, and everybody's friendly, and they would sometimes ask me sort of questions when they needed motherly advice. But as soon as there's another old person in the room, then the 2 old people sit next to each other, and that's the kiss of death for the kids. So it works out great if you're the only one. That's my advice. Try to be the only one. I'm sorry, I bought a new car and I have to go pick it up, which is very exciting, but so I have to say goodbye to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank
And
you.
I think we can go ahead and wrap up. Thanks, everyone. This was really fun and inspiring. Thank you, Sylvia, for putting all the slides together and the artists for sharing your work. I think we'll definitely do this again or some variation of this, or as Susan said, I think a lot of ideas have come out of this. So thank you. And I will be sharing a recording of this, and also that'll have contact information for everyone if you have a question that comes up or you want more information about their work. So have a good afternoon. It looks like it's still sunny out. So
It was good seeing you, Kathy.
Nice seeing you, Terry. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you.
How do we go?